The law students watching their professor here, professor of law, professor of gender, being excluded from membership of justice and legal affairs. What message are we sending, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, nobody is more special in the contribution that we made in garnering votes for our party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, Mr. Speaker. From the county of Nyamira, from the county of Kisii, we gave as much as we could, like the senator for Isiolo, Mr. Speaker. And I can read the figures. From the county of Nyamira, Mr. Speaker, we delivered 129,000 votes to Raila Odinga. From Isiolo, Mr. Speaker, Raila Odinga got 26,000. He lost to William Ruto, who got 32,000, Mr. Speaker. But as we speak here, Mr. Speaker, the only way you want to thank the Omogusi nation is to say that we deserve nothing, Mr. Speaker. Don't we have capacity to learn, Mr. Speaker? Even in the county of Kisii, where William Samoei Ruto got 134,000 votes, against Raila Odinga at 263,000, he has rewarded the Omogusi nation with the seat of whip in the National Assembly. Because you must have regional balance. You must have fairness, Mr. Speaker. And we must speak these things because an injustice anywhere should never be tolerated, Mr. Speaker. Where is justice, Mr. Speaker, when the names that have been read today, Mr. Speaker, the next person in leadership also is in 5 committees, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the senator for Kitui. You are a great man, Senator Wambua. You are magnanimous, and you will go far. He has only elected to serve in 2 committees. That is leadership. That is magnanimous, Mr. Speaker. How, Mr. Speaker, can the senator for Makueni, a distinguished ranking member of parliament, serving his 3rd term, Mr. Speaker, has only been given membership in 1 standing committee? Can you imagine? A senator serving his 3rd term, whereas somebody else is taking 4 committees, Mr. Speaker. This is not the way to go, Mr. Speaker. And I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, this idea of trying to fight people, we have tried it on this side, and we have failed terribly, Mr. Speaker. William Ruto was a member of ODM, Mr. Speaker. He was a member of ODM. He was mistreated. He left, went to church, prayed. He is now the president of the Republic of Kenya. In the last parliament, Mr. Speaker, we joined hands here to sack one of the best speakers, Senator for Tharaka Nithi, Kithure Kindiki. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, he is waiting to be vetted to become a CS, Interior and National Security. And I'm telling those who may have lined up to finish the son of Nyamukami, son of Omogusi, you will never succeed, Mr. Speaker. I'm a Christian. I go to the SDA church. I go to the Catholic church. I go to the Evangelical church. I have people pray for me, including my dear wife, Mr. Speaker. We must send a statement, Mr. Speaker, that there should be fairness from this side, the minority side, Mr. Speaker. These names as tabled, Mr. Speaker, even if I will be the only one protesting, I want to go on record that I register my protestations against the list as presented, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we should walk the talk. If we are preaching fairness as a coalition, Mr. Speaker, we should preach fairness, Mr. Speaker. My coalition, ODM, Mr. Speaker, we have 14 elected senators. 6 nominated makes it 20. If you go to the Committee of National Security, Mr. Speaker, it has got 3 members of Jubilee. And Jubilee has 4 senators here. Where is equity there? Where? How can that be? Really, how can that be? Why not pick one Wiper, one ODM, One, Jubilee. Mr. Speaker. I mean, how can we allow such an injustice to be coming from the side that should be keeping the government on check, Mr. Speaker? On sessional committees, Senator Mwaruma here, Mr. Speaker, has made us a passionate plea that because of institutional memory, he should be included in the sessional committee of CPAC. But his name is not there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the members of majority side, Mr. Speaker, to be persuaded on the interest of all senators sitting here. If there is fairness on the side of minority, join us to push for fairness. That's my appeal to you here. And we have done that before, Mr. Speaker. This matter should be given a bipartisan approach, Mr. Speaker. So that, Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, what we are passing here should reflect fairness, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, if you want to send a message to some of us from where we come from, Mr. Speaker, let us know today, Mr. Speaker. From the county of Kisii, the county of Nyamira, Mr. Speaker, our population allows us only to elect 2 senators. And we have produced 2 senators here. Do you want us to multiply through osmosis so that we have 4 senators from Kisii and Nyamira, Mr. Speaker? We have done the best that we can to support our coalition, Mr. Speaker. And in return, Mr. Speaker, we want to be treated fairly, Mr. Speaker. I want to see, Mr. Speaker, if the leader of minority from the other side is from my neighboring county of Siaya, if the whip is from my neighboring county of Migori, I want to also see that the people of Nyamira, people of Kisii, are also acknowledged. And I want to ask my leaders, Mr. Speaker, to listen to us, Mr. Speaker. When we have failed to listen before, the results have been disastrous, Mr. Speaker. When we have refused to listen before, the results have been disastrous. Mr. Speaker, I was in this house. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. When we refused
Senator Mugeni, try to wind up, kindly.
The final point I'm making, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah,
I was in this house, Mr. Speaker, when Senator Wambua, Senator of Kitui, persuaded us to be fair to Senator Wetangula. We didn't listen. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'm requesting, Mr. Speaker, that this House rejects these names. We go back, we adjourn, go to Kamkuji, Mr. Speaker. Our leaders listen to us. We present a list that is fair to all of us, Mr. Speaker, and that will give time to senators to discharge their functions, Mr. Speaker. So I reject, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, as you sit down, Senator Omugeni, Okongo Mugeni, you know, you have mentioned several leaders here who will go far. Now, as you sit down also, maybe I think today you are guided by the Holy Spirit himself. Can you also mention others, including the Kaduri Murongi, whether you go far? Because maybe... yeah? Maybe continue consulting your spirits before I leave the seat, then you also give me the blessings. Yes, let's now, Senator who has not spoken today at least, Senator Tobiko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion. And Mr. Speaker, also appreciate the House leadership on the good job that they have done. Mr. Speaker, and I am more than willing to serve in the capacities and in the committees that I have been allocated. But Mr. Speaker, even as we accept to serve the country at the positions given, Mr. Speaker, I have one or two observations to make, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I really, empathize with the members on the other side because they seem quite aggrieved, Mr. Speaker, and I believe we are doing well on the majority side, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I have one or two observations. One, Mr. Speaker, that, and I wondered whether in the Senate, because I served in the National Assembly, so I don't know whether this is a rule in the Senate, that the women leaders, maybe by design, I don't know, by default or by whatever, that are not allowed to serve as chairpersons of committees, Mr. Speaker. And I was wondering, could it be because majority of us are nominated? And by all intents and purposes, Mr. Speaker, I thought when a member finds themselves on the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Perez Tobiko, this list I learned here when I was proposing, I did not see any leadership of any committee member. And I'll be giving a direction on how the leadership, how members will proceed to get the leadership of the committees.
Okay, I can phrase. I can rephrase, Mr. Speaker. Let me say, Mr. Speaker, it will be good when chairpersons of committees are elected, that the good women leaders in this House are also given a chance, Mr. Speaker. But then, Mr. Speaker, there is another issue which I don't know whether it only affects myself or it affects some other members. Mr. Speaker, when you get people with various titles here, senior counsel, it didn't just come by the way. When you find a member who has a title of EGH, it didn't just come. You find a member CBS, it did not just come. And when we came for orientation, Mr. Speaker, we gave all the details to the Senate administration on our titles. And so I would want to see that my name is addressed in the proper manner with all the titles that I held, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, those were my observations. Thank you very much.
We proceed now, Senator Ososi Gonfrey. I want to remind you that we agreed we made a ruling of 3 minutes each member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that committee system is key aspect of any parliament globally. And a lot of work in parliament is done in committees. And in fact, it's estimated that over 80% of parliamentary work happens within the committees. A plenary like this is about 20% of the work. So we would like the committees to be in place so that they can generate business for this House. Because, Mr. Speaker, you are well aware that for the few sessions we have been having, we have, in most cases, been discussing things which, in my own view, later on, we realized that we would have spent that time discussing very substantive matters. So we expect the committees to be in place so that they can generate enough business for this House so that this House can be kept very busy. Mr. Speaker, from my experience in National Assembly, I realize that the committee is as good as the leadership of that committee. If the leadership we are going to elect is not competent enough or hard working Mr. Speaker, we will have those committees not performing to the expectation. So I want to urge those who will get the opportunity to serve as chairpersons and vice chairpersons to ensure that they work extra hard and they deliver for their committees so that we have enough business to discuss. Coming back to the point raised by my friend and distinguished senator for Kisii, I think he has raised very substantial points, Nyamira, very substantial issues which I'm sure the minority leadership will look into. And I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, when we'll be relooking at the membership of committees after those cabinet nominees have been vetted, we can use that opportunity to fix those issues that the distinguished senator was talking about. And I'm hoping that that is going to be very soon. For now, I propose that for the purpose of us making progress as a House and starting the work, we pass this motion, but take into account the issues that have been raised by Senator Mugeni, that they need quick intervention at the point of replacement of those who will be nominated as cabinet secretary. For those few remarks, I support the motion.
Senator Tsige, Wakiri Hilali.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also want to support the motion moved by the majority leader in setting up of the committees of the House. I would like to, from the very onset, state that I am aware, as the Honorable Distinguished Senator who just sat down stated, is that almost 80% of the business of the House is transacted at the committee. And what happens in the committee of the whole is what has been largely transacted in the committee session. I feel and I understand the situation that the distinguished senator from Nyamira, my learned senior counsel Okongo Mogeni, the comments that is made, the reservations that is made as regards the list that has been presented by the minority. And I know, as a practitioner of law, that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. From the part of the majority, I am aware that we have tried and practiced that which is just, and that is the basis upon which I am supporting this motion. I would only wish to encourage those who have been nominated to the various committees that the task ahead is not a small task. The business of the House entirely relies on their commitment to the cause. The business of the nation is entirely reliant on that which they will be doing. And I believe that the selection to the membership of the various committees have been put